Zeidoktor here, and this time it's just me. If you watched last week's video, you know, typical manga fan, its schedule's going to get a little more busy as things start up in fall, so, and mine's actually going to get a bit emptier, so, for other reasons. So, he's not going to be able to record as many reviews as we had before. I'm not quite sure how it'll work out, and I'm perfectly open to criticism here, but I'm going to try and do try a few of these on my own, see how it works out, and we'll go from there. Like I said, if there's anything you think I'm leaving out, or if you think anything I can add to help with it, or just any criticism at all, hit me. Just hit me with it, whatever you got. Meantime, this typical manga review is going to be dedicated to My Hero Academia, Chapter 101, The Girl Named Hatsume Mei. Or Mei Hatsume, I should say. And our cover page this week focuses on Tokoyami. Oh, actually, is Hatsume her first name or her last name? No, I'm not sure. Anyway, our cover page is Fumikage Tokoyami, our dark shadow bird man. It shows little things about his body like these covers usually do, like how apparently he has to hold his chopsticks and spoons sideways to get into his beak. And also mentioned that the purpose of his cape and his hero costume is to provide shade to keep his dark shadow charged up. That's a pretty good idea. Chapter itself. I want to get past the next little cover page scan lace in here. Bear with me a moment, guys. There we go. We're pretty much right where we left off with the dust clearing. Mei is just greeting everybody, even though she cannot actually remember any of their names. Deku is just barely blurring it out there. Well, Uraraka doesn't look so much angry, but just like annoyed or depressed. I don't know. She got the depressing lines over her face. And Nita's especially annoyed because, I mean, he was her advertising billboard at one point. I was like, oh, yeah, I see. Well, back to my babies. She doesn't care. She just wants to get back to her inventions. Of course, the moment Deku mentions costume upgrade, she's flash stepping in his face. Hey. But Power Loader, her teacher, is basically just teacher, because it says excavation hero. Even though some of the comments I'm using manga stream for the extra to come, it gets a few other commentaries it's going. A lot of them are calling Mugen Dramon, or Machine Dramon, and Metal Greymon. I think we all see the trend. He's pretty much saying, you know, it's fine if you want to hang out here, but if you keep on making a mess, I am banning your ass. And he already knows what's going on because Eraserhead sent him a note, so he invites them in. And he kind of just goes into like the nuts and bolts of how this whole thing works. Like he can do minor fixes or minor upgrades right then and there. Anything more major has to get permission first, which has a 3-day turnaround time. Deku's request is mostly just about getting some support and help for his arms, like to avoid getting stressed on to avoid the stress on there, things like that. And it's to be simple, straightforward jobs according to Power Loader. So yeah, we can just do it right away. Of course, Hatsume kind of jumped in right at this point. So I grabbed her from behind, which just freaks Deku right the hell out. Uraraka's not happy about it either, because he's like got those lines over her face again once he actually catches on to what's happening. So she tries her first idea, a powered exoskeleton, like a power suit. Or as one person comments here, Iron Deku. Of course, the problem is it's a little not quite calibrated, because when he tries to turn, it keeps turning his upper half and leaving his lower half where it is. Like it pretty much stands to nearly rip him in half. And it's like she kind of mispronounced the range of motion. I think she's like giggling because you got the as she's doing it, stopping it. Meanwhile, Ida's pointing out that he wants something to augment the cooling capabilities of his legs. And once again, Hatsume just flash steps right behind him, like she's like right uncomfortably close, and gives him engines for his arms. He tries to point out that's not actually what he asked for, but she turns on the engine and sends him flying in the ceiling before he can really finish explaining that. Honestly, it reminds me of that scene from Angel Beats where the one guy gets like sent flying into the ceiling from his desk. It's like, of course, in that case they did it in slow motion. That's funny. Anyway, Ida quite wasn't like, what was, like, my quirk is with my legs, right? I know, but there's, here's how I think about it. If you want to cool your legs, all you have to do is run with your arms. Like, basically just, of course, Deku kind of takes something from this quote, but everybody's kind of not paying much attention to him. Power Loader's just smacking Natsume down, like, violence! And he's kind of recalling now about All Might's words to him, like he's still trying to imitate All Might. Anyway, Power Loader kind of like explains on Hatsume's behalf a little bit, like she's really self-centered. Uraraka and Ida are like, yeah, we noticed. But he does point out that it's worthwhile to befriend her because all of her stuff, like, she's constantly inventing things. Like, she's done this, but she's created all sorts of support items since she started here. Within 4 months, within 4 months, she has an entire pile of stuff in the corner. And even on the holidays, school holidays, she comes there to mess with things. And he's seen a lot of people come and go, but she's definitely one of a kind. It's like, and I'm actually kind of curious here. Like, Power Loader's like, common sense is the collection of prejudices acquired by age 18. It's age words left behind by Einstein. I meant to check this before, but I wonder if that's actually an Einstein quote or if they're just BSing us. In any case, because of that, she has no fear of failure and just keeps coming up with new ideas and tries them out. Everything she can. She doesn't worry about conventional thinking at all. And then the next part I really like, because we see Deku kind of having a breakthrough, like, and then behind him, like, we see like little flashback scenes of all of his attacks. Like on the right, like we see scenes of All Might attacking, and then we see scenes of Deku attacking. And as he has his breakthrough, you actually see the stuff behind the actual background crack, which I thought that was like a pretty cool idea. He's actually thinking about before about how All Might was, you're still trying to imitate me, or I think it was Gran Torino, like your admiration for and sense of responsibility toward All Might had become shackles. And in May is like, if you want to pull your legs, all you have to do is run with your arms. And then that gives him the idea he needs. He asks Ida to help teach him a few things. But Uraraka's pointing out that Deku's face has lit up. And then they ask Uraraka for her improvements. Like, oh, I want something that can help with my motion sickness. And in this case, how about this? And we pretty much end that scene with Uraraka fleeing Hatsume. Back to the training sessions, we see Todoroki like improving, apparently trying to use fire and ice at the same time, simultaneously. Kaminari and Kirishima talking to Hatsume about other costume stuff. Shoji, I can't remember if the technical one is, yeah, Shoji. Just trying out with new stuff with his arm, putting more body parts on his arms. I'm not sure what Jiro is doing. They just were adjusting a thing on her wrist. Maybe it's a volume switch? I don't know. Mineta has anal beads. I'm not kidding, that's exactly what they look like. That's what everybody I've seen commenting on refers to them as. They're basically some of his little purple sticky balls on a string. Uraraka is pretty much trying not to blow chunks. And 4 days later, All Might visits again. And some of them are starting to get their style down. Some of them even have a few moves like Bakugo. And we see that Deku has changed a few points of his costume, like he has like extended gloves now, which I assume are there to brace and protect his arms. Mineta mentions that he maybe could have changed the style a little bit, maybe make things a little less plain. But he wants to stay as true to his the base costume as possible because it was the one that his mother made him. Like it actually shows him flashing back to when his mother gave him the costume in the first place. Meanwhile, in honor of the cover, we're seeing Tokoyami. He's actually come up with an idea for the dark shadow to actually go over his body to kind of make up for his lack of melee close combat capability. Like by donning dark shadow and covering up my physical weakness, I call it Tenebrous Abyss Body. It's like Midnight criticizes the name. It's like, it's a bit of a mouthful. Important that your move names are easy to say too. Little comment here is, tell that to the characters in Bleach. And it's like, it's kind of funny. Like Midnight, I wonder if that's the second time she's criticized the name because she did the same thing with Aoyama. Like he called himself "I cannot stop twinkling." Like if you contract it, and I can't stop twinkling, it'll be much easier to say. Almost missing the point of that whole thing, but there you are. Deku has actually created a move where he can actually like make a more pinpointed explosion. He actually like the AP shot. Maybe that one of this might be armor piercing, but rather than blowing up a whole bunch of stuff at once, just creates a smaller hole. Which I think is actually pretty cool because I recently rewatched the episode of the anime where he and Deku fight in the training competition, and it's like they actually do criticize him for blowing things up in closed spaces. So this actually works pretty well for him for that sort of thing. Of course, the explosion actually causes something part of the scenery to drop and about to fall on All Might. But before anyone can do anything about it, because All Might's no longer in a condition to. Right. Deku jumps in, and as he does, he actually like throws out a kick that smashes out the rock into little bitty pieces. And I'm going to ask you right now, anybody who watches this, anybody who's also presumably also a One Piece fan, did anyone else hear Sanji music at this point? Because I'm like, anyway, he smashes the rock, and All Might's glad because it looks like that's exactly what he was hoping for. Like Deku's realizing that All Might's special move centered around his fist, and Deku did the same thing because he thought that had to be the case for One for All in general, but now he knows better. Like it's so simple. If I only had realized it earlier, if your arms are shaky, then rely on your legs. And he's now got One for All full cowl suit style. So now he's going to be using leg combat. And we get to the analysis part of this. There's one question that I have never been completely clear on recently. Are Deku's arms permanently damaged? As in, there will always be a risk of him crippling himself if he uses his arms in the future? Or do they just need to be protected while they recover fully? I mean, if it's a permanent cripple issue, then there's definitely a good reason for him to start using his legs more often. While if it's just the arms, it might turn into a thing later where he can actually come up with a more varied style. And I really do like this development. I really do. Because in my mind, Deku has always been something more of a agility, spry, mobile fighter than All Might is. Because All Might's like, for all intents and purposes, a blunt instrument. A very, very powerful blunt instrument, but a blunt instrument nonetheless. I mean, the fact that he's like almost like Spider-Man level, like agility, moving, kicking, punching, just all over the place. It's something I always had in mind for Deku, especially since he uses his wits to fight. So maybe that could just be me. But either way, I do really like this development. It develops his power without like anything really drastic. But you can already tell just by looking at it that it's going to make a big difference going forward. So I do really like that. And I do like to see some of the things that everyone else has been coming up with, like Bakugo's pinpoint explosion. So this will be a fun arc as we got to see like all the different moves that everybody comes up with. I do want to know what the deal was with Jiro though, like her, because like I said, her only panel was like adjusting bracelets, but it's like, was that, I don't know, the only thing I can think of was maybe a volume switch. Like they actually make her sound greater or lower depending on how she sets it. That could be an interesting idea. Why on her wrists? I mean, does that connect to her power still? And Uraraka looks like she's still trying to like just mitigate the weakness of her ability more than anything else right now. So, and that'll definitely help her as she gets kind of going in there. And Tokoyami, like ever since the chapter where we saw their rooms, I've been thinking of him as kind of like a over-imaginative Chunibyo type character, and his really long name, kind of pretentious name for this, just really works with that for me. So it kind of makes it, whether intentionally or not, it makes it really funny to me. I really like that. Like I said, there wasn't anything like in the background, any little things I noticed this time around that, I don't know, maybe more observant people than I will spot, but yeah. Either way though, I did really like this chapter. I think it was fun seeing Mei again, like especially as she kept like grabbing onto Deku, like just like the moment she heard her services could be used, it's like she just like boom right there in front, right there in your face. I mean, that's just got pretty crazy there for a bit at first. I mean, seriously, like the first time it's like she's right across the room. The second time she's like talking to Deku and right behind Ida. It's like almost creepy. And then at the end, she's like chasing over a rock with whatever she had there. Not even sure what's going on with that. What that was about. But in any case, that is, like I said, there's less back and forth here, so I don't know if there's really any good reason to keep this review going too long. Like I said, I don't know. Like I said, hit me with any criticisms, anything you think I might be leaving out, or anything you might be worth mentioning that I can maybe do to improve these if I do keep doing them on my own. I'm glad to hear anything that I can do to help, because frankly, I don't know if I've got the personality to kind of do this on my own, but I do want to at least try to. So if you think you got something, hit me with it. We'll see how it goes. In the meantime, that has been the typical manga review of My Hero Academia, Chapter 101, The Girl Named Hatsume Mei. This has been Zeidoktor, and since it's just me this time, bye!